Okay, so you got the slides. So so what I'll do is there's an agenda. So what we tend to do with these sessions, it's quite a long journey, the journey to a new hospital. There is something happening all of the time, but there might only be little tiny steps, and people just find it useful actually sometimes to know not much has happened, or a lot, we've done this next thing. So what I do is I'll just say, look, this is the entirety of the program, and this is where we're at the moment, and these are the things that we're looking at. If there's been any decisions or any progress, then I just update people on that. If you move it to the next slide, please, Lynn. It's not come up on the screen.
It's behind you, it's on.
It's not on this screen, yeah.
It's good old Zoom for you, isn't it?
If you press on the slide itself, slide 2, rather than arrows, would that work?
Is that right? Oh,
No. Yeah, that's it. If you no, press on it. That's it.
Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll go through a summary of the program, some progress and status, and then any questions you've got. And I've already had. There's some people outside, Lynn. Some people are going to come in now. So I've already had some people asking about the political context and thinking how that might change, and we can have a little bit of a chat about that during this session. Bye. Bye. So we've got somebody coming in. Yeah.
Let's come in. Just starting. Thank you.
And then we're going to have some questions, and then really looking at what we're doing around digital future, and what the new hospital can do in terms of the program, in terms of accelerating some of that. And then we'll have some questions and some discussions, and maybe if people can have a think about some suggestions as well, because that's what some of this is also about. What we tend to do is have regular sessions at regular points where we talk about the program, and then we also focus on a particular area that might be of interest to people. So the last one we did was around net zero carbon. We've done one on our old buildings, our listed buildings, what we might do with those, and tonight is around digital. So we've got some of the people from the digital team here with us today to talk through that in a bit. So just to bring up the next slide, if it works. Yes. It's very busy, and it's to try and convey a number of things. Lynn, you're.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. We've got people in the room who now can't see the slides.
So Lynn is trying to manage multiple things there, which is why you can see her on the screen dancing in strange movements. So this looks very busy to show you that actually there are multiple things going on in parallel. So we're part of the new hospital program, which is supposed to standardize the way we do things. So instead of 40 hospitals doing things separately, surely a design that has a set of standards for A&E or for ICU or for other wards, that we can do a standardized design. And so we're bringing all the collective expertise from around the country to create some standardized design, which they're calling Hospital 1.0. And that has a range of standardized and centralized modules to that, and also our business case. So our business case process to get the money from Treasury needs to go through 3 stages. The strategic case, you'll see them in the green round circles there. The strategic case, our outline business case, which is the more in depth, and the full business case. And we're all doing the same business. We're always making a case for a new hospital. So we have very similar things to say in terms of the economic case that it makes, and some of the other sections. So shouldn't we be joining up and doing sections jointly? That makes sense, and to save some time in terms of that. So the idea, since the new hospital program launched, we're in cohort 4. We are due to scheduled to be ready for construction in 2025. Lynn's, I don't know what Lynn's done now. She's come off and I can hear myself in stereo.
Just sensible the slide.
Great. Okay, I think we're there. This, just to remind people, this session is on digital today, so the irony is not lost on me. So yes, we're due to be ready for construction in 2025, but also we're in cohort 4, which means that from April 2023, all of these standardised approaches and the more efficient way of delivering hospitals should be ready for us to start, but only on the proviso that the Treasury on the 6th of December, that's the date we have scheduled in and etched in our diaries, that the 6th of December that we find out what the total programme funding is. So to explain that, in May, the new hospital programme went to Treasury and said, here's the way we're going to do this national programme. It's going to save us 20 to 25% on building new hospitals by doing it in this standardised way. And they said, yes, we approve of the way and the approach to do that. Now you need to go and see how much that's going to cost. So that's what we've been working on over the last 6 months, is about the cost. And they'll be going to Treasury with probably 3 options, which is you can, there is a minimum amount, and we have a minimum amount to fix a load of our problems on site. So in the strategic outline case, we've highlighted that our minimum amount to rectify the backlog maintenance and to make improvements that to clinical care that's essential is around the 750 million, but that was two years ago. So most hospitals have a minimum amount, and then there's a maximum for a brand new hospital on a new site was 1.3 billion. So, but the economic case that the new hospital programme will be making is we can build 40 hospitals a lot faster by standardised approach on new sites, but it will cost more upfront, and those hospitals will have a 60-year life cycle. If you just give hospitals the minimum required to fix what some of their issues now, and potentially to build partly new hospitals or new wings, it's likely within that time frame that those new hospitals are going to come back for more resource. So the long-term benefits, I don't think, are in question. What is in question and what will be now is how much money the Treasury have or will have for the new hospital programme. So we are still on track, according to new hospital programme, for the government to deliver on their promise of delivering 40 new hospitals by 2030. I will just remind everybody that the definition of new hospital ranges from 3 things: a brand new hospital on a new site, a whole site redevelopment, or the development of a new clinical service on the current site, which is the development of a new wing. So it is possible to deliver a range of types of hospitals that would fit that criteria within 2040 without necessarily building what most people would consider a brand new hospital. So but the new hospital programme have got a really solid case around building brand new hospitals using this 1.0 approach. So this slide just shows you what we've been doing, the timeline. So since we came on in 2019, what our trust activities have been. So we have to start clearing the site regardless. So if we're staying, then we want to clear the site so that we can redevelop, so we can have the space to maneuver a very complex arrangement on the new site, so that you will see, or people who know and come to the site will see, that there has been some demolition on site, and there continues to be moves moving particularly administrative staff or non-clinical staff off-site to create more room for clinical decanting and moving people around. So that is ongoing, and we are looking at our clinical services strategy, which we did after the pandemic, and looking at how we can use our spoke sites, so Bracknell, Thatcham and other areas, to deliver care closer to those populations. So that's the intention for those sites, is to use those better for people who live closer to those. So lots going on at the trust level, and I've just been at the AGM, and I'm sure people will see the video that was done. That was really good around some of the things that are happening on the site. So it just shows you that where we are at the moment. We are waiting for the 6th of December decision on funding. I have to say that we were supposed to get a decision on an enabling bid. So we made a bid for enabling, to get us site ready for that 2025 construction, along with all the rest of the new hospital programme sites. Up to 50 million we were able to make a bid for. We did make a bid. It was supposed to go to an investment committee at the end of September, and it was postponed to the 8th of November. So they are confident that will go ahead on the 8th of November, but these shifting timelines can probably make people feel a bit nervous, but actually there's a huge risk that if we don't start delivering these and get the allocation for the new hospital, that the government won't be able to deliver on the manifesto promise, because the timeline would be just too tight to do that. And so now is quite a crucial, what we call crucial on the critical path. If the money hasn't started to be released to our cohorts now, the cohorts we're in, it puts our whole programme at risk in terms of delivering for that date. So one of the options that will go to Treasury is, can it be delivered over a longer time frame? I think that's all we know. We haven't had anything, there's no hints, nobody gives anything away. At the moment, much as we try, we're all in contact. Have you heard? What are the signs? What are people in Whitehall saying? We just can't guess how that meeting will go. So, and that's been deadly honest with you. It could go multiple ways, and we have no clue as to how it will go. So it's just fingers crossed that we'll have some good news before Christmas. So that's a bit on what we're doing. If you could go to the next slide. A bit of detail, and if anyone wants these slides, and they can do, but it's to just show that in the strategic case, we know that we've got the off-site option and 2 options for an on-site redevelopment. And this highlights really that at the moment, with an understanding of current construction, so based on not using the new methods of construction, but based on current assumptions around construction, that a brand new hospital, given the planning we would need to apply for, the consultation we would need to engage in, and at the assumption of how long it would take to build a hospital of the size that we require, that would take us from now, if we were told that's what we were getting, it's likely to take us up to 2032. However, if the new hospital programme can deliver this 1.0 to reduce the timeline for business cases, that might bring us within that 2030 timeline. So it's a bit difficult to call, but we can just estimate it based on the information we have at the moment. And a redevelopment on site would take less time. It would deliver improvements, but actually would not deliver the space in terms of the new policy stuff that we need to deliver. So where the new policy coming down the track is that places will need to be single room occupancy, or bigger spaces for the same spaces that we're in now in terms of clinical spaces. So it would deliver improvements, but the current plans say that it wouldn't necessarily be compliant with the new policies around space. That said, We are talking as well to Reading Borough Council about what our opportunities are on the site in terms of space and building up, and what would that look like if we needed more space. But until we know our allocation of where we're going to be, we can't progress much of those discussions yet. So that just gives you an idea of the timelines. Where I'm moving it on here, so you've got the, so go to the next one. So in summary, we're waiting on feedback for the enabling decision in November. We're going to Treasury in December, on the 6th of December. You may have seen in the press locally that we have ensured all our MPs have the information to lobby on our behalf for the best solution for Reading. And I think everyone is in agreement. We need a significant amount of investment. We hope to join the national programme in April 23, and we continue to deliver things locally. And most important is why we have these sessions. And some of you might think, oh God, she said all of this or a lot of this the last time. It's really important to us that we just keep regular contact with people, that sometimes people don't have. If we don't keep in touch and we just wait until something we feel is significant to talk about is said, then people fill the blanks and think, oh, what's going on? We haven't heard anything. Thank you for a while. So actually, we want to build a continuous relationship with the people who use the hospital and the people who want to contribute to the hospital. And so that's building our community network is really important for that. There's a slide here about getting involved. Most of you are aware of that. I think something I've learned over the last few weeks is actually, particularly engaging with the MPs, is we need to increase. We know that we've got thousands of people who support what we're doing, who want better facilities, and think we should have investment to do that. Actually showing that on social media with followers is really powerful for politicians who really want to work on behalf of the local population. So if you can get anybody to follow us on social media, that would be amazing. We've got polls and surveys on there. We've got a patient and carer reference group that we're establishing. We've got some founding members potentially in the group. I don't want to give anything away, but there are people who are working with us on a patient and carer reference group, and we are starting a shortlisting process in November. So keep an eye out for that. If you're on our network, on our mailing list, you will get information about what that shortlisting process is, to get us from a long list of options down to a short list, which we then analyze economically and commercially and all sorts of deep dive to get the information and evidence around those shortlistings. So we've got a process that's coming up between November and February to do that. And I will stop there for any questions for anybody before we go to the digital section. Just check the chat. Oh, great. Thank you, Lorna. And Tim, good to know. We've had a discussion on that before, haven't we, Tim? Okay, I can't see any questions. Oh, Janet, is that a hand or a clap?
Yeah, it's a hand. I think it's a diagonal hand. No, I'm just going to ask, obviously, looking at this, it's good to have the time, the key significant milestones that you're working to. But in parallel with this, then, are you honing down on a potential site? Now, I know we talked about this before, lobbying from the various MPs for Wokingham and everything, Science Park and all of that. But I guess that's pretty significant in, moving forward. I know you've got this potentially 10-year timescale, but I guess, getting to a point where you're in public consultation about a new site in case we can have a new build on a different site. Where's the timeline on that? Is that progressing?
It is progressing. reviewing the options that we've got, and actually going out to check sites based on a criteria that's been developed. Again, hopefully, are you taking? It's recorded, but it might be helpful to send people the criteria that we have sent to people that we are doing land searches based on. And they had to be closely linked to the investment objectives and critical success factors we've just had signed off by the board.
Right.
So that land searching is being done in parallel with the shortlisting process. So in the shortlisting process, you might say, well, it might come out the other end that the top choice, the preferred option, or the top three is a new site, is a new hospital, a new site. In order for us to do any economic evaluation on that option, we need sites. We need sites to assess them by, and we need up-to-date information. So the information we had from, for example, Wokingham, Thames Valley Science Park, land on there from 2 years ago, it's slightly different now. There's been a lot of development on that land now, and we also know there's pressures on the grid in terms of electricity, so we think it might take quite a long time to get the electricity out there. So we have to update the options we had, and we've had new options. So we've had discussions recently with Thames Valley Business Park, who've got which is not even half a mile away. Having discussions with them. So that is a parallel piece of work around making sure that we've got up-to-date concrete information around the options for land, that it's accessible, how quickly can we build on it, all of those things. There's a set of criteria we're doing a land search for.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
Anything else? Oh, you were going to say something about the very recent request from the new Chancellor for all departments to identify. Oh, so yeah, no, people have been asking me what do all these changes mean. We've had Jeremy Hunt, who was Health Secretary, now have we got any clues as to what that means? And I think, just as I mentioned, we honestly don't. We don't know whether that means because he's had experience in health and social care, he knows the investment that is required, or now he's a Chancellor, he's got a different hat on. So I think we get quite a lot have had quite a lot of inquiries from various different people over the last week asking what do we think the impact of all this political activity is, and I just have to say I honestly don't know. We haven't been told to change our process. We are still submitting information to the national team in anticipation for this trip to the Treasury on the 6th of December. So there's no indication that our process and is delayed yet. We haven't got any indication of that. So we are hoping for a decision on that date. So yeah, that's it.
I think James is ready.
Okay, James.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Can hear you.
Good, excellent. Thank you for that, Ali. Thank you everyone for joining. I've been asked to give a very brief 15 to 20-minute overview of digital at the RBFT. This will be one of many events, so if there's anything that spurs interest that I'm about to talk to, please do get in touch, and we can follow up with other events around digital and what happens next. So I will try and run through it quite quickly because I've created quite a few slides, but we know what building Berkshire together is, but from a digital perspective, it's really off-site options versus various on-site options. Which
you do not come to me.
So what does it mean for digital? It's once in a lifetime opportunity to invest in lots of digital technology that we wouldn't normally do out of capital funding. And it really does target improvements in patient safety outcomes and the experience. So what do we define as digital? It really is anything that's involved, anything with a plug on, really, any technology that delivers patient services or trust operations. And it is quite a diverse area, as you can imagine. So we do anything from the car park systems through to integrated patient care record systems, car park, electronic patient record systems, handheld beepers, and multi-million-pound medical equipment, cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. And it does impact every single department in the trust. We are part of an integrated care system, the BOB, which is obviously all the elements of the eco-health, the healthcare ecosystem around us. So when we talk about eco-health systems, it's primary care providers, general practice, dentals, it's secondary. So RBFT sits really in here with urgent elective care, but we do have community health and tertiary care. And the patients sit in the middle of that. What we're trying to do with digital is put it into all of these elements. So the trust reaching out into all these areas, including putting digital technology in patients' homes. So we'll come on to that, what that actually means. A day in the life of RBFT, hopefully you've seen the slide before, but it's a very busy place, as you'd expect, doing some fantastic work. And it's interesting that there's 15 babies delivered a day, and hopefully the BBT, the program, will deliver a hospital that they can use in the future and benefit from as well. So we really are looking at a 50-year plan for the new hospital, which those babies can use the hospital for. So inside that digital day in a life in digital, we do about 24 million patient transactions a day. So that's bits of patient data flying all over the place. So it could be different systems, it could be to GPs, it could be bits of information, it could be doctors, consultants putting in information. So there's an awful lot of data transactions relating to patients every single day. We still do a lot of emails, and we have about 30,000 devices connecting every single day. So people are quite surprised at that number, but it's a lot of medical equipment, a lot of critical medical equipment such as heart and ICU patient monitors that are real time, that need alerting if things go wrong. But it's also patients and visitors. We have to provide a secure network for our patients and visitors. Our telephone systems, even with video conference, are still heavily utilized. So about 1,100 calls a day, 900 calls to the emergency department and other departments, and 2 medical emergency, what you probably heard of as crash calls. So our telephone systems are still heavily utilized, even with the advent of Zoom and Microsoft Teams as we're using today. About 250 clinical and business systems, 300 support calls, and we do have approximately 10 cyber attacks a day that we are keenly defending, and cyber is obviously a big focus for digital. Anything with digital has to be secure to put on our network, and there is a massive governance process. So we do, as an example, we do approximately 1 electronic patient record change. So electronic patient system, this is our main system, which holds a lot of information about patients, and we do 1 change to this system a day. And that has a whole governance process around it. But the main point of that is the training. It's all very well and good us putting digital technology in, but if we don't train our end users, it's pretty pointless. And this will be extending out. So as we put digital, give digital to patients, give digital into patients' homes, we will need to extend that training out and make things as easy as possible. But we will need to make sure that people are aware on how to use the technology, how to engage, and how it will work for them. And as you'd expect, there's big governance. So we do a lot of data protection. There's a lot of information governance, a lot of data protection. We're audited annually. We need to make sure everything's secure, and we need to make sure that the policies we have in place are being followed, adhered to. And it is an important part of what IMOT do is the governance element of putting things on the network. Everything now has a network cable, and we need to make sure that that can't be infiltrated, can't be hacked, can't cause a breach to the system. So security, again, is a very big part. So our objectives in digital, it really is about augmenting the clinical services. So we're gathering a lot of information now, and it's presenting that to the clinicians so that it will help them to make decisions on what patient pathways are. It doesn't replace it. It's not going to be a replacement for clinicians. It's not going to have that human interaction, but it supports what we're doing. So it's very much gathering the information, analysing it, and presenting it back in a way that the clinicians can get value from it and understand what they might need to do, or might give them ideas what they haven't thought about before. So digital is supporting the clinical operations model, but it is augmenting, it's not replacing. Part of the digital is doing virtual healthcare, and this makes some people nervous. Bringing technology into your home, things like we've got virtual wards, virtualized remote monitoring. Everyone's worried about their privacy and things like that, but it really is a benefit to the healthcare system. So people feel a lot more comfortable in their home. So if we can get more people out of the hospital in the wards into a comfortable home, if it's suitable for them, then we can provide real-time monitoring in their homes. And things like the virtual eyes will monitor if someone accidentally falls out of bed. It can even monitor breathing patterns, and it really gives this real-time information back to us so that we can call in, we can arrange appointments, and it can all be done virtually from the comfort of people's home if that is suitable, as I say. So this movement of taking the technology from within our trust four walls and putting it out into the community, into the patient homes, is very much a big driver that we're looking at, which will drive how the new hospital will look. It might vary some of the rooms we have. It might vary the size of certain departments. So it really is a driving force in the BBT program, as well as just generally as in enhancing the patient services. Part of that as well is improving the connectivity across the connectivity across the whole healthcare ecosystem. So this whole single patient experience, whether you're talking to your GP, talking to the trust, talking to specialist areas, or talking to health in the community, care in the community, it really is this idea that we're sharing information. So you're not telling people all about your ailments or your problems. They have it with them there. It is a more personal approach. It's not you're having to update every time you speak to someone. It's sharing your record. It's sharing information. It's sharing scans, images. It's this real collaborative approach to patient pathways. So your patient experience will go across all of the areas of the healthcare ecosystem, but you'll get a similar experience. You won't have to explain what you've done recently, or any patient or doctor or hospital visits. It will all be there and accessible to everyone needing it securely. And it's all premised on high quality data. Cybersecurity, as I said, is very important to us. Ease of use as well. So clinicians, we've got some clinicians that might be carrying around 4, 5, 6 different devices. They might have beepers, pagers, mobile phones. We have things called cows, computers on wheels. They might be wheeling these around because they're not getting information at their fingertips. It's very much getting the right device to the right clinical model. So this is important in terms of ease of use and reducing the complexity and making life easier for the clinicians, so that they can just input into one device and spend more time with our patients, spend more time delivering care. And that's the big aim around the actual end user devices. BBT is going to give the ability to embrace new technology. So digital, we've talked about, and we'll touch on a bit more, but also smart buildings. So the idea that we'll have a lot of voice controlled smart buildings. So you might be able to turn your air conditioning up, because we're talking about single occupancy rooms. So turning your air conditioning up and down in your room by voice. Might be informatic systems. We'll talk about real-time service tracking in a moment. It might be opaque glass. So where we have single occupancy, you may have a glass barrier, which we can press a button, make it opaque for some privacy. So when you're having your consultations, that can be private. And then that returns to a transparent glass afterwards, all done by smart buildings. So it's building technology into the buildings, the management. So we're reporting. And this all is a big driver as well around the net zero. So understanding what buildings are doing and how we can be efficient. We're not heating rooms we don't have to heat. We're not lighting areas we don't have to light. That's all done around the digital and smart buildings. But as our net zero drive, we do focus on a lot of cloud adoption, trying to use net zero data centers, trying to go paperless as much as we can. There's still quite a lot of paper in the trust, and obviously that's quite bad, but it is also efficiency. So minimizing the amount of devices we have, as I say, the real-time location services. We have a lot of medical equipment that we could optimize. We might not have to buy quite so much if we know where it is, if we can lay our hands on it a lot quicker, which is all about real-time location services, which I'll touch on a bit later. So we have a lot of influences. It's not just what we want to do within the trust. It's not just our clinical model, but where we start is our electronic patient record. All your information we're trying to get in one location, and that will be shared out. So all the people in the health ecosystem, healthcare providers, they'll be able to access your care record, which might have anything from images, it might have your patient history, it might have the latest results, etc., etc. So it really is a single point of truth about a patient, which we can then securely share on a needs basis. So we can part share information. We don't have to share all of it, but it will be to those care providers that need access to it and that are part of your patient pathway. It's also, as we open up that data sharing, the patient can feed into that. So with the virtual monitoring, we get real-time analysis from electronic devices connecting in, so taking your heart rate, your blood pressure, etc., but also the way you're feeling. So you could be asked questionnaires once a day, twice a day, which actually gives a flavor. Have you had headaches? Are you feeling sick? Are you nauseous? Those sorts of things. So that can feed directly back into the EPR system and straight to our clinicians in real time. So there's a lot more real-time reactivity, which then we can open up further to the integrated care and the social care, health care network. So integrated care really is about healthcare that is seamless between, if you're speaking to your GP, if you come to the ED department, if you're having a specialist care, it really is this connected, integrated care where everyone knows what they need to know about you to give you the best healthcare possible and make it seamless and as efficient as possible. At the moment, we have 60% of our transactions are digital with GPs, but we still have a lot of paper flowing between GP practices and the hospital, and that's the same with community healthcare providers as well. So it really is a digital integrated care that we're trying to get to with a single digital patient record that can be accessed by those people that can securely and need to access it. There's a sort of a buzz phrase and a big population health term now, which is very important to us as well. So in a nutshell, population health is about being preventative. It's being proactive around your healthcare. It's looking at healthcare inequalities. So the demographics, so it's taking digital information we've got, manipulating, understanding it, looking at things that might be family history. And it really is tailoring the healthcare to each individual person. So that when you come in and your family has a history of X, Y, Z, or you live in a certain area, or you work in a certain job to a certain extent, you will have healthcare that will be tailored to yourself based on that information. So it might be that other tests are done for you. It might be that when you get some ailments, you get a particular type of drug. So it will be very much tailoring healthcare to the individual, and that's where it's moving. Over the next 50 years, your personal build-up, your DNA, your genes, they will be pivotal in the way that you receive healthcare and the services that we deliver. So the population health is really taking the information out, all this great information that we've learned, and understanding what it means and what that means in terms of proactive healthcare, but also preventative. It might be informing certain individuals that you need to stay away from certain foods, as a very simple example. So it is a very big area of growth and of rich knowledge that we can use to help the clinical services. And innovation, as you'd expect, digital, we're always looking at new technology. We're always looking at how can we augment the clinical service, how can we make things better? And that is a big area that we're always looking. And a lot of that, we talk about artificial intelligence and supporting clinical decisions, which, as we're gathering lots of more information from people at home with real-time monitoring, we need to be able to automatically pick out the very important data from the mundane data. So a lot of that will be done digitally with artificial intelligence. It will be detecting certain scenarios in which our clinicians will be enabled, and it may even get to the stage where it automatically alerts the ambulance service or whatever it might be to get an ambulance to your front door. So it is innovation is a big part for us, as well as artificial intelligence, and robotic process automation is a part of that as well. All this is underpinned by the right infrastructure, the right devices, enabling technology. It's making sure maternity wives have laptops that really work, that connect first time, and they're not wheeling around bags full of tech that they don't really need. It is making sure that our clinicians have devices that work and they connect first time, and they can work from wherever they need to work, be it from home, be it from out in the community, be it within our four walls. So it is this great mobility piece. If they're coming to your home to deliver patient care, they need to have this ability to access all this great information from wherever they are, and it has to be secure. Underpinning all this is governance and compliance and training. We have a great deal of governance. Compliance, we're updating software all the time. We're putting in new entries so the EPR can be updated with new drugs, with new alerting, where you've got compliance regulation. So there's an awful lot of work that goes around the governance and compliance. And as I say, training is pivotal. As we put in new technology, it's no good unless we actually train people on it and delve that forward. And that's the same as we put technology into homes. People need to know how to use technology. It has to be simple to use, has to be reliable, and it has to be able to be used by a big demographic of people. So what's BBT going to do for us? Well, it's going to accelerate a lot of things. One of the things that BBT want to do is knock down our data center. So we need a new data center. And part of that, luckily, is unified communication. So these Zoom meetings will be a lot more efficient after we spend a bit of money on that. So there's a new telephone system, new unified comms, which is basically the whole digital engagement. It's patient portals, it's video conferencing, it's appointments that are all fed back into the EPR system. So it is a lot of focus within patient services. as I was talking on real-time location services, effectively we'll start tracking a lot of things throughout our new hospital. So this could be a medical equipment, it could be beds, it could be staff, it could be even patients as we move through. So we know exactly where people are, or equipment is, or beds or staff. So it's this ability to maximize the efficiency. If we know there's certain types of beds that are dotted around the hospital, if we know we've got access to them, we can deal with certain types of patients. It's the same with staff and patients to a certain extent. If we know that they're in recovery room, we might optimize where they may go in the wards for further recovery and things like that. So it really is important to start doing a lot of tracking, which smart buildings will help us do. 50% of our digital engagement. So we're looking to deliver 50% of all interactions. So this is starting to move away from telephone calls, written conversations, paper driven. It really is an app-based world that we're living in. So 50% we're looking to try and give that information two-way, real-time information that's pertinent, information that will help the patient understand what they're going through, what the process is, what procedures might be, but also feed back into us. It will also give real-time measurements around car parking and all sorts of things that I'll touch on it again in a minute. A lot of outpatient appointments we're going virtual. So we've gone down this journey with COVID, and we're looking to do more and more. It is for outpatient appointments that are suitable for virtual. Not all engagements, not all interactions are suitable for virtual, but it will be for those that will save time for people, for updating, for making sure that we are real time and efficiently communicating with patients, and doing that virtually where we can. And which saves people having to come to the hospital, having to travel in, having to pay for car parking, and so on and so forth. We're doing a lot more with virtual wards, and as I say, virtual wards can be internal and external. So it is about real-time monitoring. It is about monitoring, seeing if people are in bed, their vital statistics. And as I say, there's a lot of research that says if you have a nice environment, be it green trees that we were looking at, Ali and I were, your recovery time is reduced. If you're from home, your recovery time reduced. So there is some evidence to suggest that being at home, it will help your recovery period. So whatever we can do to promote that in terms of virtual wards, maintaining that communication, maintaining that healthcare whilst doing it virtually, whilst you can be in the comfort and confines of your home, if that's suitable for you. And we're looking to double that by 2026 and even more with the new hospital. Releasing time. So a lot of what we're doing with artificial intelligence, with automation, so automating a lot of processes. Historically, we've had clinicians having to put 4 sets of the same data into 4 different systems because they never talk to each other. So reducing that sort of data input, reducing the need to put in passwords to 200 different systems, reducing the need to actually analyze data if we can present it to them with using artificial information. So we think we can quite easily, under the new hospital funding, release 10,000 additional hours a week. So that's a lot. That's how digital can improve, just with releasing that time, more time with the patient, more time delivering care. So it's a fantastic opportunity. As I say, we want to improve with GPs primarily, but 100% of routine interactions with primary care. We're at 60%, so there's a bit of work to do there. But what we do need to make sure is that whatever digital we do put in, it works for patients. So we are targeting 95% satisfaction relationship to patient digital services. There's no point putting something in that no one uses or finds frustrating or doesn't work for them or doesn't give the right information. So it will be a very, very integrated approach with patients, understanding the need, what they want digitally, what works, what doesn't work. And that's why we want that 95% of patients saying, yes, they're happy and it works for them to begin with. We will up that as and when we adopt more and more technology. So the proactive talk, a lot of healthcare is reactive. You go to ED, you find a lump, you do it. A lot of it's reactive. A lot of what we're trying to do now is make it proactive. So sharing this patient information, having a lot more collaborative, being preventative, making patient informed. So things like when you've got an appointment, we can publish waiting time. So you don't have to go and wait in the waiting room for 2 or 3 hours. It can give you a rundown. You can check into the car park so people know you're away and you don't have to get out of your car. You can get your results. You can get quick links to your phone. So this whole proactive, patient informed about simple things. You know, you can get it when you go on an airplane, and you can get it on your trains. Why can't you do it about your patient sessions and waiting times and things? So we're going down the route of giving that information back. So you can effectively roll up and within 5 minutes be seen. So you're not waiting around the frustration of sitting in a waiting room. And part of that's hospital wayfinding. So interactive maps, finding a way. The hospitals are a big place. It's got many rooms. Interactive maps, so you can actually steer your way in the most efficient way to get from the car park to where you need to be, even letting you know where there's car parking spaces, even letting you know where there's bus routes. So this whole wayfind, this whole engagement with the whole ecosystem of getting to the hospital, how to park at the hospital, then your appointments, and then getting home again. So this wayfinder technology will really help that process. And indeed, when we match it with virtual appointments, we should reduce the onus on the car parking, which is a big challenge for us.
James, we've got less than 10 minutes just to let you know.
Yeah, no, don't worry, I'm getting there. We talked on healthcare, real-time sharing, population health, preventative, and predictive measures. So it's making sure that you're doing as much preventative for your own healthcare and taking control of your own health, and patient empowerment. So being part of that clinical decision process. As I was saying, it's once in a lifetime generation, and what we're doing, it really is to make patient services better. But we are looking at some quite cool things. So augmented reality, what we can do with drones, what we can do with autonomous vehicles, voice controls, and robots. In the future, there'll be a lot of operations possibly run by robots. There'll be there'll be autonomous bots delivering drugs and possibly all sorts. You may even arrive at hospital in a drone in the future, who knows? So we are looking at that sort of thing over the next 50 years. That said, RBFT is patient focused. Digital is not the answer to everything. Health problems are stressful. People need to be face to face and have that reassurance from clinicians. So we know that there is digital inequalities. We know not everyone is digitally enabled. So we're not oblivious to that, which is why we target 50% of virtual appointments and not everything. We understand the need to actually engage with the patients, and it is a people service in effect. And Ali, you'll be pleased to hear the last point, opportunities to get involved. So hopefully I've given you a bit of a flavour of what we do in IT, what we're looking to do with digital. I know it's a bit of a whistle stop and we can deep dive in future events. But there really is, if you've got ideas how technology could help, if you've got ideas how what doesn't work or what does work, if you want to know more about what we've talked about, if you want to get involved with delivering some of this, finding out about it, then please do get in touch. And yeah, it would be fantastic to open up now for questions and anything people might want to ask.
Thanks, James. There's some questions and some comments and questions in the chat. So perhaps we start there. There's a question from Michael about the data centre. Okay.
What was it?
Oh, so it says, can any new data center be incorporated, controlled and upgraded on the existing site infrastructure? How could a data backup system operate in the event of a system shutdown or site emergency?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Great question. We've obviously done an awful lot of work around our data center and it being knocked down. The idea or the plan is currently that we will have 2 data centers on site which will be resilient. One of which will be in the new West Drive, or plan to be in new West Drive development. One will be in a geographically diverse location so that we will have no single point of failure. But we are on a big drive to adopt the cloud. So as much technology we can will be put into the cloud because of the net zero effect and the fact that gives it a lot more flexibility and pay per use as opposed to investing in our own infrastructure on site. So absolutely, we are removing single points of failure within the data center. As by design.
Okay, great. Janet Waters has said she attended a conference and a patient in London spoke very positively about a system called Patient Knows Best. Apart from clinicians, she had access in one place to all her data. Any thoughts?
Yes, that's exactly. We use a different technology, but with the NHS app, the whole point of the NHS app is that you will, from your single app, currently phone-based, but it might be PC-based, you'll be able to access your GP information, your hospital information, any information. So although it's very difficult to have one central care record because of the way systems are set up, a lot of hospitals use different electronic patient record systems. What we are looking to do is a hospital integration architecture, which means we can present data in a way that other healthcare providers understands, and they can draw that data down real time. So the big long term is that we won't necessarily use one system, but you will be able to access it in a standardized way so you can pull the information that you need.
Okay, how do you measure patient satisfaction? Tim says we find that people are very happy with direct care, but much less so with care across silos.
It is quite challenging. It's a manual process, and it is surveys, which we do with BBT and things like that. But it is quite tricky because generally you only hear about people that aren't happy, and that's normally on Facebook forums and things like that. But it is something that we need to look at, and how we actually develop a very good way to get that satisfaction, to make sure. And in fact, Ali, we were talking about it earlier about how we can poll people on certain things around the BBT program. So it is very much part of the digital roadmap of how do you get good engagement from patients and feedback.
Okay, and Gay Reese, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, please. Some years ago, we had all this about doctors and information that was going to, you could agree for your doctors to have your information, and that would be could be seen through the hospitals and all that. I don't know whether that actually ever took place. I mean, there was a lot of publicity about it, but there's also a lot of publicity for people who did not want their information shared.
Yes.
And there was, at that time, I remember there were forms that people filled in, which they logged with their doctor if they didn't want information about themselves going to be shared.
Yes.
Is that something that you're looking at? Because a lot of people are very nervous about past information.
Yeah, it is very much a case of you need to opt in, and what you're talking about, there was an opt in and opt out, and there was even, I think there was a granular level of what information you shared and wasn't shared. So people that opt out of sharing information, they will not benefit from this collaborative approach. So I mean, from a data perspective, we secure it, and we do the great governance, and we do provide only to people that need access to it. But if you opt out of sharing, then you are removed from that process. Yes.
There will be something for people who I'm not talking about myself here, but there I do know people very uptight about this sort of thing.
And we are very aware that there is a digital inequality as well. So we know that some people still work with paper, some people don't have mobile phones, some people can't use computers. So there is an element of that as well. So yeah, absolutely, we are conscious of people's views.
I have one other thing I wanted to bring up. You're saying about you do car park, and it's such a wide range of what you do. Are you anything to do with patient transport? Because recently I have knowledge of people that trying to get home, and they were told, oh, well, there's no transport running. And they've been there hours and hours when they just want to get home. They can't go in a taxi because they're not well enough, put it that way. Is that something you'll be looking to sort of try and improve?
I think it's slightly out of my remit, transport, but certainly we can look at how digital might improve that. But it's something that we can take offline and look into for you.
So just to come onto that, I'm aware of some of the patient transport issues, and some of it's primarily linked to the traffic and the demand that comes in, for example, to A&E. So we heard in the AGM just now that the A&E really was built for about 250 people to come through the door, which was a couple of years ago. And now we're looking at daily people coming in of around 430, 440. I think last week we even had up to 500 in one day. So when that happens as well, there's more people, it has a knock-on effect on a number of things, and transport is one of them. So it's getting people, that volume of patients with the same transport is really, really challenging. But we did hear also on today at the AGM is that there has been funding agreed to deliver a service in the centre of Reading, like a walk-in centre type thing, I think we were told, in the centre of Reading. And there's a procurement process with companies bidding for that now. Now what we're hoping is that will take some of the demand off A&E in particular, and help with some of those transport issues. But I do know that they are looking at other transport things to help in the meantime and to expand that service. But when you have a patient transport service that's set up for half of the amount of people that normally come through, need it, it becomes challenging. It's a bit like the waiting times. We've got people waiting, a lot longer than the 4 hours in A&E because of the sheer volume. I think there was at one point last week up to about 80 people in the waiting room, and that's just, they run ragged in A&E. So it's a huge problem that I think transport is just one of the areas that are affected by the numbers coming into A&E.
It seemed to be more that there wasn't anything running in more than that they had too many numbers. That there was the length of, I don't want to hone in onto this because it's not a major thing for you, but it's that there wasn't enough transport available, or that it wasn't running, only runs at certain times, and the wards did not know that. The people at the wards didn't know. So there is a bit of there seems to be, and I thought maybe technology, that's why I was thinking James's technology could help the wards to know what was available and when it was. Yeah, that's all.
Perhaps we can find out a bit more about transport and get back to you. Gay, is that okay? Yeah, we've listed it and we can come back to you on that.
It's quite important when people have finished a hospital, they just want to get home, don't they? And you don't want to be hanging around there for 4 or 5 hours. Yeah,
absolutely. So there's a question here from Peter. Clinicians understand very well what they want, what, how, when and where. Very satisfying career for engineers and IT people to support them 24, 300 hours a day, 365 days of the year, I'm guessing. Thank you, Peter. We heard today that, again in the AGM, that there are, because we're engaging young people in careers in the NHS, and there are 185 types of things you can do, types of careers in the NHS. So that's another fun fact I didn't realise today, but 185 of them. Any other questions?
Tim just put about what timescales.
Oh, timescales, we missed that one. Sorry. What timescales are we talking about? Is that for the digital roadmap, Peter? Because I think probably, there's a digital strategy that we will want to roll out, and we don't know how much investment we're going to get from the new hospital programme, so we don't know how quickly we can accelerate that timescale. Do you mean for rolling out all the digital things that that James was talking about? Where is Tim?
That was the end.
Did he say yes? I can't, there's so many people, I can't, they're not on the same screen. So let's assume that that's what Tim meant. James, do you want to answer that?
The trust, we create a digital strategy which is based on current funding levels. So even if we don't secure BBT enabling funding, which we're hoping we will do, which will accelerate a lot of this, we are still developing digital. We still are spending to make these improvements, just by no means as quickly. So this will enable us to make a lot more changes in the next 4 years that wouldn't otherwise be possible. But we certainly have a strong digital ambition, even if we don't secure additional funding.
Okay. So, so we've had a direct message again about, do we really think we're going to get any money from the new hospital programme in the current climate? I think it goes back again to, I don't think Ladbrokes has taken any bets on anything to do with the government at the moment. I mean, it's literally, you cannot, even if something's decided, it's undecided the next week. It's really, really difficult to understand. The NHS Confederation this week released a report that they commissioned that demonstrated actually that for every £1 you invest in the NHS, it delivers £4 worth of economic growth, which is strong in our favour for investment. I do think that, and we are consistently told, even at a conference last week, that the government are committed to delivering the 40 hospitals by 2030. There is a lot of money already been spent on preparing for that construction. So to stop it altogether, I think would be a disaster on a number of levels, politically, but also for the hospitals who are in desperate need of it. But as I say, I can't guess it. I can't guess what's going to happen in terms of that investment. I think worst case scenario, it could be scaled down, that we maybe don't get the big ticket item that we hope to get. That's a possibility. I think it's less of a possibility that it would stop altogether. So I think that just doesn't feel like that's possible. But, you know, again, I'm just guessing. It's just there's so much investment been put into it so far, to just put the brakes on not being able to deliver the hospitals, the risk issues that it would leave hospitals, and the money that has already been invested that would go nowhere on multiple levels. Stopping it altogether doesn't sound like it would be a very sensible decision. But I'm not the Treasury, so that's yeah, it's guesswork basically. So we have to carry on as if we are going to get some investment, because we haven't been told otherwise. Anything else? Any other secret chats? No. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for dialing in so late, everybody. And if you have any other questions, didn't feel like you could ask them here, do email us. We don't mind at all. And if there's stuff that you think, also use us as a bit of a conduit. You know, people find sometimes it's difficult to know who to speak to. So I know you talked about patient transport, and it might not feel like the right forum. We work across the trust. So, you know, if there's questions that you think, oh, I don't know where to go with this, then just ask us, and because if we don't know, we'll know someone who knows, and we can get back to you. So please just use us in that way as well. We work as one team across the trust. All right. Have a good evening, everybody. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jane.